All right, the weather's getting nice. I'm going to start working on vehicles again. And in this video, I'm going to be changing the serpentine belt and water pump belt on this 2013 Mazda 3 with Skyactiv. And you can see that I've already got the front tire off. Obviously, it's the passenger side. Vehicle's jacked up, jack stand under there. And I do throw some wood packing under there for additional safety. I have a flathead screwdriver. To get the wheels off, I'm using a 21 millimeter socket, and that's also used for turning the crankshaft pulley. I got some wrenches. You need a 17 mil. And then I've got the belts and a belt removal tool. And both the belts are by Gates. This is the Micro V Serpentine belt. And the other one's obviously the Stretch Fit water pump belt. And you can see the product numbers I got on there. The total price for me in Canadian dollars for the two belts and the belt removal tool was $77.98. You don't need that belt removal tool. In fact, I wouldn't get it. It was $12 wasted, but that's okay. And you can see the US prices for all the items on there. For the dealership price on this, they quoted me $235 for labor. That's an hour and a half of work. They quoted me $92 for the serpentine belt and $79 for the water pump belt. So the total cost Canadian at a dealership where I'm at with taxes would be $458.78. So doing this job myself, I'm saving $380.80, and that is with the $12 sort of useless stretch fit belt tool. I just do the belt by hand. It's not that big of a deal. I would not recommend getting the stretch fit tool. So the first thing I'm doing is removing some of the plastic liner around the wheel well. There's two bolts that hold the splash guard in, and then there's some of those little plastic clips, and that's where you might need the flathead screwdriver. So pop that piece out. Then I'm going to remove the liner portion as well, and that just helps you get at the air conditioner pulley. You might be able to do it without removing this portion of the liner, but I think it's just easier. So you can see I've just removed the front half, sort of folded it over, and now I have access nice and clearly to the crankshaft pulley as well as the AC pulley. So you can see how cracked up the belt is. It's not in very good shape at all. And this belt's actually only 2 years old. It's a Continental belt, and I'll show that later. So I would not recommend getting a Continental belt ever. It really didn't last long, and it's not very good. So up top, you can see the alternator. The belt goes around that. You can see the tensioner, and then the belt also goes around the crankshaft pulley and the air conditioning pulley. Now you can see I've already got the wrench in there, and it's like I said, a 17 millimeter. You probably could loosen the tensioner from up top, but instead I go down below. I find it's easier to work from the bottom and just reach up. So you can see the 17 mil there, and that's on the tensioner stud. So you just pull it down. I guess that's counterclockwise, and that loosens the tensioner. And for putting this on and off, I work from the air conditioner. I found that was easier. So pulling the wrench down with the right hand and removing the belt with the left hand. Basically, I'm lying on my back here, and the camera is just off to the side. So like I said, that's a 17 mil to loosen the tensioner, and I found it was easiest to remove it from the air conditioner. And then the belt comes right off. As long as it's loosened and removed from one of the pulleys, it will just fall right off. So before I do anything, I'll just compare the two belts. So like I said, I got this when I moved into this province. Canadian Tire put it on. I don't know what they charged me, 200 bucks or something like that, but the belts are the same size. Obviously, it's going to be a direct fit. And you can see it is a Continental belt. So about 2 years and 40,000 kilometers, and it is completely dead. And the reason I knew this is because it was making a lot of squealing and stuff if it got damp. But every inch of this thing is cracked up. It looks like garbage. And interestingly enough, they did not change the water pump belt when they changed the serpentine belt. So I'm also not happy about that. So I'm not going to go back to Canadian Tire for getting belts done and stuff. Now, unfortunately, I did pop the water pump belt off accidentally when I was kind of poking around at it to determine how I was going to do this. But I just put the belt removal tool here and turned the crankshaft pulley with the 21 millimeter wrench. And then I just used the belt removal tool to push it towards the engine. So I pushed the belt inward and it popped right off the pulley. Even though I did use it, I could have used anything. I could have used a pen. I could have used a stick. I didn't use the belt removal tool in the proper configuration anyway. And if you go online, you'll see that Mazda actually recommends you put a towel around the belt and pull the towel into the pulley, and then pull the pulley off like that. So you can see it's still a Mazda belt. So like I said, when I got the Serpentine belt changed at Canadian Tire, they only did the Serpentine belt. They didn't do this one. I would recommend doing them both at the same time. To me, it makes no sense to do one at a time. So to get the stretch fit pulley on, like I said, I'm not going to use that Gates stretch fit tool. I just put the belt on the crankshaft pulley, and then I put the bottom edge of the belt on the water pump pulley. And now I'm just going to turn the crankshaft in a clockwise fashion. And I'm going to push in on the belt with my free hand so that it continues to run properly on the pulley and doesn't pop off. And I'm just going to keep doing that until the belt is fully on the pulley. I did not find this was difficult. I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult than it was, but this is super easy. Although I don't want to jinx it for anyone else. So you can see on the crankshaft pulley, it's coming off the pulley a little bit. So what I'm doing next is I'm going to push the top of the belt in towards the engine. So I'm going to reach up with my left hand while I'm turning the pulley with my right hand, and I'm putting pressure on the belt to push it back into position where it needs to be on the crankshaft pulley. So it's obviously already fully on the water pump pulley. I'm just getting it seated correctly on the crankshaft pulley. So like I said, I'm just putting pressure on the belt so it sort of works its way towards the engine until it's fully seated into its track on the crankshaft pulley. And you can see it moving over now. Sort of as I turn the crankshaft pulley, the belt is almost in position. You can see it's on the bottom, it's just a little bit off, and then one or two more quarter turns and it'll be fully seated. So almost there. Little quarter turn, and there you go. So now the stretch fit belt is completely on the water pump pulley, and it's completely and properly on the crankshaft pulley. Now for the Serpentine belt, a little audible here. You might want to do the tensioner if that's an issue, but at this point I'm just doing the belts. So you can see I've got the belt on top of the alternator pulley, then it goes under the tensioner pulley, and now I'm going to come to the bottom of the vehicle. You can see that I've got it wrapped around the crankshaft pulley, and the last thing to do is to put it onto the AC pulley. So just like I said, removing it, I started from the AC pulley. Putting it back on, I'm going to end at the AC pulley. So just like getting it off, I've got that 17 mil wrench on the tensioner. You can see the tensioner coming up there if you look top center of the screen. And really I'm just pulling it all the way down and then flicking the belt onto the AC compressor pulley. And that's it. Obviously I'm working on my back and looking up. So you can see where that 17 mil wrench is on the tensioner pulley. And you can see everything's in line. So now I'm just going to go into the vehicle, start it up, and make sure the pulleys are running properly and nothing goes flying off or breaks. But it's fine. I take it for a test drive. Everything works good. There's no squealing. Everything works perfectly. But obviously you don't want to button everything back up, put your tires on, that kind of thing, if there's an issue with the pulley. I also go into the vehicle and turn on the AC just to put some tension on the pulley, and no problems with that either. So overall, the Mazda dealer is saying this is about an hour and a half job. I agree that it is an hour and a half job if you do it yourself in your driveway like I did. I'm not sure that this is an hour and a half job at the garage if they're using air tools on a lift, that kind of thing. I think that's stretching it, but whatever. That's what they said, so that's what they would charge you. And one of the biggest criticisms actually I have with this Mazda 3 is all these splash guards and aero dams or whatever, all this plastic stuff. It is about as thick as a disposable paint tray. So all the plastic is cracked up. Everything is snapped on this thing. It's got to be the cheapest component of this vehicle is all the plastic bits underneath. They're just absolutely in a shambles. So you can see I'm using zap straps and stuff to hold everything together. And that's not even from working on it. That's just from driving it around, maybe hitting some snow or something. Just breaks everything underneath this vehicle. But anyway, putting everything back together, and then I'm going to go take it for a test drive. Usually I shoot these videos on the weekend and then do voiceover throughout the week. So it's working good. And the torque spec I use on the tires, I think I go to 100 foot-pounds for each of the lug nuts. Anyway, pretty fast and easy job. And it's an easy way to save $300 or so. And like I said, I wouldn't get that gate belt removal tool. To get it off, I would use a towel or a pen or a stick or anything. And then to put it back on, I just use my hand. No problems whatsoever. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.